supporting new businesses, expanding sales, and driving growth. A new network of Caribbean SPDCs will broaden the program's reach. The Inter-American Committee on Tourism, the C2, convened ministerial-level policy dialogue in an urgent response to the impact of the pandemic on the hard-hit tourism and hospitality sectors. Policymakers and experts discussed biosanitary protocols, travel and visa facilitation, among other critical areas for the sector's recovery. Partnering with the George Washington University and the U.S. Bureau of Indian Affairs, we went ahead with the scheduled first Indigenous Tourism Forum of the Americas, pivoting to a virtual format and convening over 240 participants from indigenous communities, the private sector, and governments. SETI also integrated sustainable development practices in the COVID-19 response. The pandemic is a daily reminder of the links between water, health, sanitation, food security, and nutrition. We ensured the continuity of our water management projects in the Plata Basin and worked with governments and partners in the design of an investment portfolio valued at $90 million. Additionally, the Energy and Climate Partnership of the Americas continued to share relevant best practices and responses to the pandemic on energy and air quality. These few examples indicate our collective impact. We cannot do this alone. It is now more urgent than ever to address the region's structural weaknesses, to recover from the health, economic, and social crises occasioned by the pandemic and prepare for future shocks. It is imperative that we work together as we risk losing recent development gains and seeing millions fall back into poverty. It is time for the region to redirect course and pursue a more sustainable, resilient, and equitable future for all. We are in this together.
But the resilience building agenda is too big for any one stakeholder to address acting alone, and simply bringing together stakeholders, whether at the national, subnational, regional, or global level, is not enough. Effective, focused, and sustained coordination among stakeholders is paramount to provide countries with integrated and comprehensive support.
The OAS, as a hemispheric forum and honest broker, must continue to facilitate this process while we work with member states towards the attainment of the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda. Cooperation, collaboration, and partnerships that include all actors strengthen us, enabling us to be more than the sum of our parts. We can and we must work together. The future of our region depends on it.
Bueno, la CIM tiene una agenda enorme en el tema de democracia y de liderazgos. El primer ámbito tiene que ver con la gobernanza electoral, para que esta gobernanza electoral responda a las necesidades con las que fue creada, y es buscar los espacios de redistribución del poder. Después hay un programa interamericano sobre de las mujeres, donde
y Santa Lucía.
Y también tenemos cursos de capacitación. Hay un poderoso curso que ha llegado a más de 1000 mujeres con más de 15 ediciones, que es para candidatas electorales, en los cuales conversamos con ellas, pero también nos ponemos en una agenda de solidaridad y articulación y alianzas entre las mujeres, a pesar de las múltiples diferencias ideológicas o de partidos políticos. También hablamos de los temas de violencia política, porque no es lo mismo llegar que quedarse, y la violencia política es una forma de ejercicio de disciplinar a las mujeres para que vuelvan al mundo de lo privado y enfrentar la violencia, hacer buenas investigaciones, buenas leyes que permitan sancionar la violencia política, es parte de las aspiraciones de la CIM en este programa de liderazgo de las mujeres. La aspiración histórica de las mujeres es estar en el mundo del público, que nuestro trabajo sea remunerado y que tenga un reconocimiento. COVID ha puesto en evidencia una profundización de las brechas existentes para el logro de este objetivo. Estas brechas existentes ahora dan cuenta de que podríamos tener un rezago de más de 2 décadas en el mundo laboral. Que el cierre de brechas que se previó que podía tardar 100 años en cerrarse, ahora se habla de 135 años para cerrar la brecha entre los hombres y las mujeres. Entonces nuestro objetivo es que miren el derecho de las mujeres al empoderamiento económico, que el statement "quédate en casa", que es un viejo conocido del patriarcado, no sea que nos quedemos en casa siempre, y que entendamos que la inserción de la mitad de la población, de este talento humano que tiene una serie de ventajas.
La delegación de México se...
De manera que la CIM está colocando esta realidad, está colocando las necesidades de las mujeres y está haciendo unas recomendaciones de rutas.
Suma este tributo póstumo a la doctora Maris Robert, exdirectora del Departamento de Desarrollo Económico de la Secretaría Ejecutiva. La delegación de México se suma a este tributo póstumo a la doctora Maris Robert,
Colombia. Colombia biodiversa, bañada por 2 océanos, cubierta por el verde amazónico, los páramos andinos y los manglares costeros, llena de riqueza cultural, de diversidad en su gente, que con su trabajo impulsa su desarrollo. Esta Colombia promueve en este momento importante.
Hoy, esta organización es el guardián regional en defensa de la democracia, la libertad y los derechos humanos. Los países se han comprometido con estos valores a través de instrumentos legales como la Carta Democrática Interamericana, la Convención Americana de Derechos Humanos y todas las demás convenciones interamericanas. Nuestro trabajo es mantener los más altos estándares. Debemos ser objetivos, analizar los hechos, denunciar cuando veamos corrupción, inequidad o amenazas a la libertad. En esos casos no podemos ser neutrales.
la delegación de
Colombia biodiversa, bañada por 2 océanos, cubierta por el verde amazónico, los páramos andinos y los manglares costeros, llena de riqueza cultural, de diversidad en su gente, que con su trabajo impulsa su desarrollo. Esta Colombia promueve en este momento importantes cambios y reformas sociales con el anhelo de garantizar derechos laborales, equidad, justicia social y ambiental. Esta nación, que es potencia de la vida, acogió en su capital Bogotá a los 34 Estados miembros de la Organización de Estados Americanos para celebrar la 22ª Conferencia Interamericana de Ministros y Ministras del Trabajo y debatir, a la luz de los nuevos retos de la humanidad, el futuro del trabajo en las Américas, cimentar la paz, la justicia social y la acción climática en armonía con una región y un mundo mejor. Este pujante país, el país de la belleza, recibió por los siguientes 3 años la presidencia de la Conferencia Interamericana de los y las ministras del trabajo de la región. Nuestro trabajo mueve al mundo.
Our work must also focus on the construction of a positive agenda that continues to favorably impact millions of lives every day.
The COVID-19 pandemic brought unprecedented challenges to our member states and the people we serve. In response, the OAS Secretariat for Integral Development adopted a three-pronged approach by 1. Adjusting our portfolio of existing projects, 2. Exploring new projects to meet emerging needs, and 3. Expanding multi-sectoral partnerships. The results achieved in 2020 demonstrate the resilience of our member states and the commitment of the OAS SETI to work with member states and partners towards our common goals in the development of our region. Our Network on Competitiveness launched the COVID-19 Ideas Accelerator, sharing 250 tools, health solutions, responses, and recovery plans. The Network for Labor Administration published a portfolio of responses from ministries of labor to COVID-19, sharing over 420 measures taken to protect workers, employment, and income. Likewise, the Inter-American Teacher Education Network series, Teaching STEM in Quarantine, provided 117,000 teachers with key tools to continue advancing STEM education during the pandemic. Through its network and platforms, the Inter-American Committee on Ports promoted international and national best practices, guidelines, protocols, and recommendations on COVID-19 safety measures and continuity of logistic operations. Initiatives such as the Education in Times of Change platform allowed us to meet urgent needs by offering timely tools on virtual education and a dedicated space for ministries to share strategies, actions, and solutions. Other programs such as the Row Fund stepped up, providing emergency grants to offset the challenges imposed on our students by the pandemic. SETI's partnerships are adding value to member states in the form of technical assistance, training, and access to tools and services. In partnership with leading private sector institutions, we offered micro, small, and medium enterprises access to online tools and training, increasing their visibility and participation in e-commerce, a key to their survival and growth in the pandemic and post-pandemic era. A new OAS SETI Facebook initiative provided 85,000 MSMEs across the region with capacity building opportunities and WhatsApp business tools to aid response, recovery, and resilience building. The Caribbean Small Business Development Centers program achieved real impact, supporting new businesses, expanding sales, and driving growth. A new network of Caribbean SPDCs will broaden the program's reach. The Inter-American Committee on Tourism, the C2, convened ministerial-level policy dialogue in an urgent response to the impact of the pandemic on the hard-hit tourism and hospitality sectors. Policymakers and experts discussed biosanitary protocols, travel and visa facilitation, among other critical areas for the sector's recovery. Partnering with the George Washington University and the U.S. Bureau of Indian Affairs, we went ahead with the scheduled first Indigenous Tourism Forum of the Americas, pivoting to a virtual format and convening over 240 participants from indigenous communities, the private sector, and governments. SETI also integrated sustainable development practices in the COVID-19 response. The pandemic is a daily reminder of the links between water, health, sanitation, food security, and nutrition. We ensured the continuity of our water management projects in the Plata Basin and worked with governments and partners in the design of an investment portfolio valued at $90 million. Additionally, the Energy and Climate Partnership of the Americas continued to share relevant best practices and responses to the pandemic on energy and air quality. These few examples indicate our collective impact. We cannot do this alone. It is now more urgent than ever to address the region's structural weaknesses, to recover from the health, economic, and social crises occasioned by the pandemic and prepare for future shocks. It is imperative that we work together as we risk losing recent development gains and seeing millions fall back into poverty. It is time for the region to redirect course and pursue a more sustainable, resilient, and equitable future for all. We are in this together.
But the resilience building agenda is too big for any one stakeholder to address acting alone, and simply bringing together stakeholders, whether at the national, subnational, regional, or global level, is not enough. Effective, focused, and sustained coordination among stakeholders is paramount to provide countries with integrated and comprehensive support.
The OAS, as a hemispheric forum and honest broker, must continue to facilitate this process while we work with member states towards the attainment of the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda. Cooperation, collaboration, and partnerships that include all actors strengthen us, enabling us to be more than the sum of our parts. We can and we must work together. The future of our region depends on it.
Cabina español. Ok. Cabina. Okay. No están hablando. Español. Aló. Español. Kern. Ok. Sí, la escuchamos. ¿Tú escuchas en Cudo? Un segundito. Ah. Ok. Segunda consola. Segunda consola español, por favor. Ok. Kern. Okay. English, please.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Second console, English.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing.
Portugués. Cabina portugués. Aló, aló. ¿Sí puede falar? Ok. Segunda consola de portugués. Ok.
Buenas leyes que permitan sancionar la violencia política es parte de las aspiraciones de la CIM en este programa de liderazgo de las mujeres. La aspiración histórica de las mujeres es estar en el mundo de lo público, que nuestro trabajo sea remunerado y que tenga un reconocimiento. COVID ha puesto en evidencia una profundización de las brechas existentes para el logro de este objetivo. Estas brechas existentes ahora dan cuenta de que podríamos tener un rezago de más de 2 décadas en el mundo laboral, que el cierre de brechas que se previó que podía tardar 100 años en cerrarse, ahora se habla de 135 años para cerrar la brecha entre los hombres y las mujeres. Entonces nuestro objetivo es que miren el derecho de las mujeres al empoderamiento económico, que el statement quédate en casa, que es un viejo conocido del patriarcado, no sea que nos quedemos en casa siempre, y que entendamos que la inserción de la mitad de la población, de este talento humano que tiene una serie de ventajas competitivas, es necesario para el crecimiento económico. De manera que la CIM está colocando esta realidad, está colocando las necesidades de las mujeres y está haciendo unas recomendaciones de rutas para poder cumplir con el derecho al empoderamiento económico y con el crecimiento económico que requieren nuestras empobrecidas economías en tiempos de COVID.
Hoy, esta organización es el guardián regional en defensa de la democracia, la libertad y los derechos humanos. Los países se han comprometido con estos valores a través de instrumentos legales como la Carta Democrática Interamericana, la Convención Americana de Derechos Humanos y todas las demás convenciones interamericanas. Nuestro trabajo es mantener los más altos estándares. Debemos ser objetivos, analizar los hechos, denunciar cuando veamos corrupción, inequidad o amenazas a la libertad. En esos casos no podemos ser neutrales.
More than 100 years since the inauguration of this building, the OAS headquarters, our institution still brings together the peoples of the Americas to address our responsibilities as a partnership of nations. As we look to the future, our work must also focus on the construction of a positive agenda that continues to favorably impact millions of lives every day.
The COVID-19 pandemic brought unprecedented challenges to our member states and the people we serve. In response, the OAS Secretariat for Integral Development adopted a three-pronged approach by 1. Adjusting our portfolio of existing projects, 2. Exploring new projects to meet emerging needs, and 3. Expanding multi-sectoral partnerships. The results achieved in 2020 demonstrate the resilience of our member states and the commitment of the OAS SETI to work with member states and partners towards our common goals in the development of our region. Our Network on Competitiveness launched the COVID-19 Ideas Accelerator, sharing 250 tools, health solutions, responses, and recovery plans. The Network for Labor Administration published a portfolio of responses from ministries of labor to COVID-19, sharing over 420 measures taken to protect workers, employment, and income. Likewise, the Inter-American Teacher Education Network series, Teaching STEM in Quarantine, provided 117,000 teachers with key tools to continue advancing STEM education during the pandemic. Through its network and platforms, the Inter-American Committee on Ports promoted international and national best practices, guidelines, protocols, and recommendations on COVID-19 safety measures and continuity of logistic operations. Initiatives such as the Education in Times of Change platform allowed us to meet urgent needs by offering timely tools on virtual education and a dedicated space for ministries to share strategies, actions, and solutions. Other programs such as the Row Fund stepped up, providing emergency grants to offset the challenges imposed on our students by the pandemic. SETI's partnerships are adding value to member states in the form of technical assistance, training, and access to tools and services. In partnership with leading private sector institutions, we offered micro, small, and medium enterprises access to online tools and training, increasing their visibility and participation in e-commerce, a key to their survival and growth in the pandemic and post-pandemic era. A new OAS SETI Facebook initiative provided 85,000 MSMEs across the region with capacity building opportunities and WhatsApp business tools to aid response, recovery, and resilience building. The Caribbean Small Business Development Center's program achieved real impact, supporting new businesses, expanding sales, and driving growth. A new network of Caribbean SPDCs will broaden the program's reach. The Inter-American Committee on Tourism, the C2, convened ministerial-level policy dialogue in an urgent response to the impact of the pandemic on the hard-hit tourism and hospitality sectors. Policymakers and experts discussed biosanitary protocols, travel and visa facilitation, among other critical areas for the sector's recovery. Partnering with the George Washington University and the U.S. Bureau of Indian Affairs, we went ahead with the scheduled first Indigenous Tourism Forum of the Americas, pivoting to a virtual format and convening over 240 participants from indigenous communities, the private sector, and governments. SETI also integrated sustainable development practices in the COVID-19 response. The pandemic is a daily reminder of the links between water, health, sanitation, food security, and nutrition. We ensured the continuity of our water management projects in the Plata Basin and worked with governments and partners in the design of an investment portfolio valued at $90 million. Additionally, the Energy and Climate Partnership of the Americas continued to share relevant best practices and responses to the pandemic on energy and air quality. These few examples indicate our collective impact. We cannot do this alone. It is now more urgent than ever to address the region's structural weaknesses, to recover from the health, economic, and social crises occasioned by the pandemic and prepare for future shocks. It is imperative that we work together as we risk losing recent development gains and seeing millions fall back into poverty. It is time for the region to redirect course and pursue a more sustainable, resilient, and equitable future for all. We are in this together.
But the resilience building agenda is too big for any one stakeholder to address acting alone, and simply bringing together stakeholders, whether at the national, subnational, regional, or global level, is not enough. Effective, focused, and sustained coordination among stakeholders is paramount to provide countries with integrated and comprehensive support.
The OAS, as a hemispheric forum and honest broker, must continue to facilitate this process while we work with member states to towards the attainment of the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda. Cooperation, collaboration, and partnerships that include all actors strengthen us, enabling us to be more than the sum of our parts. We can and we must work together. The future of our region depends on it.
Bueno, la CIM tiene una agenda enorme en el tema de democracia y de liderazgos. El primer ámbito tiene que ver con la gobernanza electoral, para que esta gobernanza electoral responda a las necesidades con las que fue creada, y es buscar los espacios de redistribución del poder. Después hay un programa interamericano sobre el liderazgo de las mujeres, donde generamos conocimiento y también tenemos cursos de capacitación. Hay un poderoso curso que ha llegado a más de 1000 mujeres con más de 15 ediciones, que es para candidatas electorales, en las cuales conversamos con ellas, pero también nos ponemos en una agenda de solidaridad y articulación y alianzas entre las mujeres, a pesar de las múltiples diferencias ideológicas o de partidos políticos. También hablamos de los temas de violencia política, porque no es lo mismo llegar que quedarse, y la violencia política es una forma de ejercicio de disciplinar a las mujeres para que vuelvan al mundo de lo privado y enfrentar la violencia, hacer buenas investigaciones, buenas leyes que permitan sancionar la violencia política. Es parte de las aspiraciones de la CIM en este programa de liderazgo de las mujeres.
I am advised by the Executive Secretary that we have the required quorum and we can proceed with the meeting. I am pleased to welcome you to this final regular meeting of the Inter-American Council for Integral Development for 2024. Colleagues, I now submit for your consideration the draft order of business, document CD/OD-152/24, which has been circulated to all delegations. If there are no objections, I propose that the order of business be adopted as presented. With no objections, it is so decided. Approved. Colleagues, today we pay tribute to a special someone, Dr. Maurice Robert. This council, today this council will not only attend to the matters of development, but will take a moment to pay special tribute to Dr. Maurice Robert, former director of the Department of Economic Development at the OAS, Executive Secretariat for Integral Development, and to many of us, a dear friend and colleague. Dr. Roberts served at the General Secretariat of the Organization of American States from 1996 until 2024. She worked as a principal specialist in the Trade and Economic Development section of the Department of Economic Development since July 2003. Later, in April 2012, Dr. Robert was appointed as Director of the Department of Economic Development until her separation from services on September 21st, 2024. Those of us who knew Maurice know that she was a dedicated employee of the OAS, who worked tirelessly to implement our many mandates in the areas of trade, tourism, culture, science and technology, competitiveness, MSMEs, and others. With a career at the OAS spanning 3 decades, we are profoundly grateful for her service to this organization, and by extension, the people of the Americas. As the representative of a CARICOM country, I knew firsthand of the particular attention she paid to Caribbean member states and would like to place on the record of this august body our gratitude. I now invite you to please stand and join me in a moment of silence in memory of Maurice. Thank you. I now invite delegations who may wish to refer to this issue. Canada. You have the floor, sir.
Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. On behalf of the Government of Canada and of the Canadian Mission before the OAS, I'd like to express our deepest sympathy to the family, the colleagues, and the friends of Maryse.
Thank you, Madam Chair and the Secretariat, for organizing this agenda item today, and for all those who've participated in acts to remember and commemorate Maryse Robert over the last few days. As many of you know, Maryse was a pillar of the OAS and in particular of SEDI. She dedicated over 30 years of her life to improving the lives of people in the Americas through her tireless work. Indeed, she was one of the very first Canadians to join the Secretariat of the OAS after Canada became a full member of the organization in the 90s, and was the longest-serving Canadian at the OAS when she retired earlier this year. Maryse was viewed by us in my mission as a fantastic ambassador for Canada, demonstrating values that we hope represent the best of us. That is to say, fairness, compassion, dedication, and a commitment to human rights and improving the lives of those less fortunate than herself. She was humble, but I think, as many of you know, tenacious when she believed in a cause. Those who knew Maryse are well aware that she was not a fan of public recognition for her work and her contributions. But I believe it would not do her justice if we fail to acknowledge the profound contribution that she made to the OAS and to so very many people across the hemisphere during her life and her career. Although Maryse is no longer with us, her legacy will live in each of us and in all those she touched throughout her life of service. We will miss you, Maryse. Tu vas nous manquer. Merci, Madame.
You will be greatly missed, Maryse.
Thank you. I now give the floor to Brazil.
Obrigado.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. The delegation of Brazil wishes to echo the words of sympathy and grief over the passing of Maryse Roberts. It's really a great loss to the entire region to have lost such an exemplary professional, a loss to the entire hemisphere, I might add, as well as to each of us. Over her long period as the head of her department and economic growth, she worked with a number of us on issues that were greatly complex, and the diplomatic missions of us all, I know, and certainly we in Brazil had dealings with her since 2007, working on micro and small enterprises, ecotourism, innovation, work, integration, so many issues that are cross-cutting and critical indeed to advancing and to reaching the goals of this organization. We can only hope that her memory and her legacy will inspire us and inspire the next head of the department that she headed, and indeed all of us member states of the OAS. Finally, if I may, the Brazilian mission would like to extend sympathy to the family and friends of Maryse Roberts, who are grieving also. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. I now give the floor to Bahamas.
Good morning, and thank you very much, Chair. I'd like to thank you ever so much for placing this item and remembrance on the agenda, and no less at the outset of this morning's proceedings. I join those extending deepest condolences to the family, both biological and professional, of Director Dr. Maryse Robert, and celebrating the life of service that she lived. Dr. Robert was the standard of international public service. Over the course of the 30 years of service here at the OAS, she fully devoted and poured herself into the work, and by extension, she devoted and poured her activity into the economic development of the people of the Americas. As the chair so rightly communicated, Maryse had a special affinity to the Caribbean, and we held her in high regard for her keen interests of our region. While her work, like much of the work of the OAS, was under-resourced, Over the course of the 12-plus years she served as director of the Economic Development Division at the OAS, her department over-delivered in tangible impact for the region, and she assisted and stewarded new and innovative programming such as the America's Competitiveness Exchange, Small Business Development Center project, the Youth Academy for Transformative Technologies. Her strong academic bona fides clearly informed her approach to policy development, and she also added immense value to the work of SETI because of her strong understanding of the culture and political dynamics of the hemisphere and its subregions. Dr. Robert was also and always an advocate for ensuring that CARICOM countries did not get abandoned or left out of consideration for any projects or programs and that she was affiliated with. And for this, the Bahamas in particular will always be grateful. Dr. Robert leaves incredibly large shoes to fill for her successor, and she will be missed dearly. We are assured that her legacy of service and impact will continue to bear fruit in the years ahead and will continue to serve as inspiration and a model of service and leadership for us all. As a matter of an aside, and for full disclosure, my delegation has requested legal guidance in respect of the contribution or the funds that Maurice has provided in her dedication for those resources to be exempted from the ICR. Upon receipt of that legal advice, my delegation will advise all. And if the advice is such that there is no avenue, my delegation will be pursuing a dedicated resolution, and we look forward to the support from other member states. Thank you kindly. And God bless her soul, and may she rest in peace.
Thank you, Ambassador. I now give the floor to St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Thank you, Chair. Former Director of Economic Development in SEDI, Dr. Maryse Robert was a beacon of dedication. Her commitment to the development of entrepreneurial initiatives geared towards women and towards building a 2030 vision for the micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises in the region is undeniable. Dr. Robert, a former lecturer at the University of the West Indies, Cave Hill campus in Barbados, showcased her first commitment to technical training for experts in the region to improve its productivity and competitiveness. She recognized the relevance of innovation in improving economic growth and advocated for public policies to reflect that. She was indeed a stalwart in the realms of trade and economic development, innovation, technology, culture, and tourism. To those who had the pleasure of working with her will attest to her effective work in the field and to her excellent personal attributes. My delegation is deeply saddened by her passing and expresses gratitude for the legacy she leaves behind in our hemisphere. We comfort them and thank her family and friends for allowing us the privilege and honor of sharing in her light. We extend our deepest condolences to her family and friends. Qu'elle repose en paix. Repose en paix, chère Maryse. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ambassador. I now give the floor to Peru.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Today brings us together for a very emotional and saddening event. Maryse was a distinguished profession and a great friend of each of our countries. As director of the Economic Development Department, she pushed for the highest possible principles and especially joint work and solidarity. Her loss, quite frankly, is going to be very hard to fill. but certainly not one that will cease inspiring us. And so on behalf of Peru, let me take this opportunity to express our public thanks for her belief in economic development, and most especially her ongoing support for micro and small enterprises in the region, which are so key to all of us. It was thanks to her leadership, to her unfailing willingness to help, that we have been able to go forward, and I'll tell you that goes for all of our small and small-sized businesses. Many also found a defender in her for a number of issues. We were able to launch projects that not only enriched our present, but I dare say sowed the seeds of a very, very rich and promising future. We will remember her in grief, but in thanks. And Peru, therefore, expresses its sympathy to her family, to her friends in this broad American family, and wishes her, dear Marise, a peaceful and restful time forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Peru. I now give the floor to the United States.
Thank you, Chair. The United States joins other delegations in this council in expressing our deep sadness at the passing of Dr. Marise Robert earlier this month. Her distinguished career at the OAS was marked by unwavering dedication and significant contributions to economic development and cultural diplomacy in the Americas. As Director of the Department of Economic Development within the Executive Secretariat for Integral Development, Dr. Robert's leadership was instrumental and in advancing initiatives in science and technology, as well as competitiveness, micro and small and medium-sized enterprises, tourism, and as I mentioned, culture. Her department's role as Technical Secretariat for Hemispheric Ministerial and high-level meetings facilitated meaningful collaboration and progress in all of these critical areas. Dr. Robert's academic achievements were equally impressive, as has been noted. She earned a PhD from the Fletcher School of Law Diplomacy at Tufts University and a master's degree in applied economics. Her expertise was further honed through her work with the World Bank, the United Nations, and the private sector, particularly on telecommunications issues. She was also an academic and lectured at prestigious universities like the University of West Indies and the George Washington University. The U.S. mission to the OAS had the privilege of collaborating closely with Dr. Robert on numerous development projects, including the America's Competitive Exchange and the Small Business Development Centers program. I had the privilege of assisting, working with her, and saw the invaluable work and contributions she's made to these programs. Her wise and steady leadership was pivotal in the success of these initiatives, which have had a lasting impact on the region's economic landscape. Last year, Dr. Robert was also a steadfast supporter of U.S. efforts to highlight the legacy and impact of cultural diplomacy in the Americas, particularly through the universal language of music. Her vision and leadership ensured that these efforts, coordinated in the context of Pan American Day, resonated deeply, showcasing the power of cultural exchange to unite and to inspire. The work was a testament to her belief in the transformative potential of culture and her commitment to fostering greater understanding and cooperation in the region. Beyond her professional accomplishments, Dr. Robert was known for her intelligence, her kindness, integrity, and unwavering willingness to assist others. Her personal qualities left an indelible impression on all who had the fortune to work with her. She exemplified the very best of Canadian contributions to the OAS. An individual whose dedication and character elevated our shared mission and strengthened the bonds among member states. On behalf of the United States, we extend our heartfelt condolences to Dr. Robert's family, colleagues, and friends during this difficult time. Her absence will be deeply felt, but her contributions will continue to inspire and to guide us. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ambassador. I now give the floor to El Salvador.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. This delegation would also like to join in the thanks that are being given for this very, very worthy memorial to Maryse Roberts, who, until just recently, was head of the Economic Development Secretariat for Integral Development here at the OAS. So we are all sad. We are grieved at her irreparable loss, and we therefore reach out to her family, to her friends, indeed to her colleagues here at headquarters, who are all, I'm very sure, very sad. She was deeply committed, as we all know, to the raison d'etre of this organization, and her entire trajectory, above and beyond her brilliance professionally, always demonstrated a profound commitment to the development of the region and to increasing the quality of life of each of our peoples. Her ability to generate interaction and closer ties, not only among countries but among sectors, will certainly be with us always. And this is but one of the many, many traits that characterized her management here. She believed in economic development that was equitable, that was accessible to all, and that would make a meaningful difference to all of the people of the Americas. And so today, while we mourn her loss, we certainly celebrate her legacy, because it will continue to make a difference, as we know. Her work made a difference to us. We are not the region we were, and we are farther down the line of a juster hemisphere for all. That is the sense of my delegation. You know, great souls don't disappear. We all know that. They leave imprints on our hearts and sow seeds everywhere. That's why we say, dear Maryse did sow seeds wide and far, and the fruits of those seeds will stand in testimony of her goodness, of her kindness, and of her great generosity. On behalf of El Salvador, we can but express our most sincere grief to her friends, to her family, and to all of you and all of us who found it a privilege to work alongside her. She will remain an inspiration as we seek to pursue the work that she sowed. May she rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you, El Salvador. I now give the floor to Honduras.
Good morning. Good morning, colleagues. Thank you, Madam Chair, for putting this important item on the agenda to honor Dr. Maryse Roberts. Maryse was a close friend of Honduras, and a friend to all of Central America and the Caribbean and the rest of the region. She personified the American spirit of integration, and it was always top of mind. I had an enormous privilege. I was able to work with her as part of her team for a little more than 10 years. And during that time, when I joined her team as an even younger diplomat, she received me. It was a moment of transition with open arms. Full of a spirit and desire to share everything she had to offer, and she was that way with everyone. She was always willing to care for her teams, for the people around her, and we saw that, for example, when there were situations where resources were scarce for ordinary funds, for others, she always did everything she could to make sure that her team was stable. And I mention this because it's just one small example of her humanity. Others have shared quite a bit about her professional and academic credits, and I think that's worth noting, but I wanted to also highlight her humanity. And in my personal life, she was a mentor to me. She helped me so much in my career as a diplomat. And she is the reason I am who I am today. I spent 10 years at her side learning from her, and she had that unique cackle, right? That laugh that was so contagious. And she had this perspective that allowed her to always look at the positive. She had a way of looking to the positive and calmly look forward and work towards the solutions or the results that we wanted to see. That's just a few of the memories that I will carry with me of those years that I had the privilege to work with her as part of her team. And this is an enormous loss for Honduras. She was always working so closely for us, as particularly in the small business efforts in the Northern Triangle and Central America, and of course in the competitiveness efforts. And I appreciate the time dedicated to her on the agenda.
Thank you, Honduras. I now give the chair to Costa Rica. Ambassador, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also thank you for including this item on the agenda today. Good morning to all of you. We are echoing the words of profound loss as we say goodbye to an exemplary professional and a committed team member who worked tirelessly for equity in the region. Dr. Maurice Roberts, the mission of Costa Rica would like to honor her message, her legacy, and also recognize her work as the former director of economic development in CD. She didn't just face the challenges of our region, she also brought compassion to her work for equitable, sustainable social justice, and we want to recognize her. Her work was a source of inspiration. She had a strategic vision that allowed her to bring together countries of the region to cooperate and to strengthen our institutions. Her professional chops and her way of being will leave a mark forever on this organization. Costa Rica appreciates the way she valued equity and social justice. She was not just an exemplary member of our personnel. She was a source of inspiration and a firm voice for progress and a friend to all in this hemisphere. We hope that her memory will be a light to follow in the future and remind us that when we commit ourselves to public good, we can do so much. We express our profound sympathy to her friends and family in this time of loss and hope that you will find solace in the memory of Dr. Roberts that shows up in every program and person she inspired. We have heard so many people speak to what she has left in their hearts. May she rest in peace. Costa Rica honors her memory and her valuable contributions to this organization.
Thank you, Ambassador. I now give the floor to Paraguay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The delegation of Paraguay would like to echo the words of sympathy expressed for the loss of Maurice Roberts and express profound sympathy for her family and colleagues and friends. We echo the words of all of our colleagues that have gone before us, and we appreciated her openness, her professionalism, and her dignity in everything she did in favor of this organization. Her memory inspires us to continue working for integral development in the hemisphere. May she rest in peace. Thank you.
Excuse me. Thank you. I now give the floor to Mexico.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would appreciate if we could see the video shared by my delegation. The delegation of Mexico presents this posthumous tribute to Dr. Maurice Robert, the ex-director of Economic Development at the OAS Executive Secretariat for Integral Development, and expresses its deepest sympathy for her loss to her family, her friends, and the OAS. We value her important work and the commitment that she showed to integral development in the region, particularly when it came to economic development, promoting tourism, ecotourism, trade, competitiveness, technology, and innovation. She was a true collaborator without equal for our priorities, and her enthusiasm and backing were absolutely key to contributing to building alliances, bringing projects together when it came to integral development in our country and in the region as a whole. Her long career of service and tireless work as a public servant contributed to American cooperation and left a profound legacy of dedication for the causes of the hemisphere. Dr. Roberts was not just an exceptional professional, she was also a warm, kind, and affectionate person. Mexico says goodbye to Dr. Roberts, saying at the same time that her life will continue to inspire us to fight for lives that are free of poverty and full of justice. We express so much respect and to the work she did on behalf of the Americas and the OAS's priorities.
Thank you, Mexico. I now give the floor to Jamaica.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the Jamaican delegation, we'd like to pay tribute to Maurice Robert and to express our deepest condolences to her family and friend. Maurice Robert will be greatly missed for her knowledge, her dedication, and her high level of professionalism, but most importantly, her willingness to assist at all times. She epitomizes a great human being and above all, a caring person. Her talent was unique and she was very special. Jamaica also takes privilege and honor in honoring her life. May her soul rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamaica. I now give the floor to Ecuador.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you for including this item on the agenda. On behalf of Ecuador's permanent mission, we also echo the words of honor following the death of Dr. Maurice Roberts, who stood out for her incredible academic background, professional integrity, and tireless work for all of humanity. I also am humbled by the words spoken by delegates who spoke before me. She leaves a wide legacy, especially when it came to integral development for all, particularly in Ecuador's case. We saw her efforts in science, technology, small and medium-sized businesses, innovation, and others. She always had her doors open to allow for new opportunities that might allow for the improved well-being of people in my country and in the hemisphere. And in that line, my delegation would like to express our most profound condolences to the family of Dr. Roberts and also recognize all of the contributions that she made, not just to Ecuador, but to all of the countries that made up this hemisphere. Many thanks.
Thank you, Ecuador. I now give the floor to Executive Secretary Osborne, who will share her thoughts.
Thank you, Ambassador, and good morning, distinguished representatives and alternate representatives, colleagues, all. At the outset, I would like to thank you, Madam Chair, and all member states for taking the time in today's meeting to honor the memory of Maryse Robert, a remarkable individual whose legacy will forever be etched in the history of the Organization of American States and in the hearts of all who had the privilege of knowing her as a dear friend and colleague. As cliché as it may sound, it is indeed a friend who left us too soon. Maryse dedicated her entire professional life to her work at the OAS and carried the ideals of the OAS deeply within her heart. She believed that the work we did in SETI, and indeed the wider OAS, had true impact, whether it was negotiating trade agreements which ensured fairness and transparency, or helping MSMEs digitize so that they could remain competitive, or connecting communities and countries through the America's Competitiveness Exchange. Maryse believed in the transformative power of the OAS. She would often remind us of the tremendous opportunity this place afforded us and the great responsibility we have to ensure its success. For those of us who worked with her, we know that she was exceptionally loyal to those she cared about. I benefited from that loyalty. She would defend her staff and her department tooth and nail, especially when it came to her budget. She enjoyed the diversity of the OAS body, but had a particular affinity for the Caribbean. She was a visiting lecturer at the University of the West Indies Masters in Trade program, which was created by the OAS, an assignment she looked forward to for many years. She cared deeply about Haiti, and we often spoke of what we hoped to do once the situation in Haiti stabilized. She always sought to bridge divides, build relationships, and foster a spirit of solidarity. Maryse's impact was not confined to her professional achievements alone. She was one of the most generous persons I've ever known. Whatever the cause at the OAS, post-disaster relief, GoFundMe campaigns, a Christmas party, a celebration, a lunch, a colleague in need, Maryse was the anonymous donor with the large contribution. And as was mentioned earlier, she also contributed at the end a fund to the Department of Economic Development. She did so willingly and quietly. She was not one for self-aggrandizement, something that I always say told her was very Canadian. She was very proud to be Canadian at the OAS, proud above all to be Quebecoise. She adored her family and spoke of them often with me. As I have fielded calls and texts over the past week from all over the Americas, I have come to understand Maryse's role as a mentor, a collaborator, and a friend. Her wisdom and kindness touched countless individuals. Maryse believed in the power of empathy and understanding, and her ability to listen, support, and uplift those around her will forever be remembered. Her commitment to the values of the OAS extended beyond her desk or the meeting room. She understood the importance of inclusivity, of recognizing the diverse voices that make up our region. She understood very clearly that true progress comes when we embrace our differences and work together in harmony to create a better future for all. As we remember Maryse today, let us reflect on the lessons she imparted through her actions. Let us honor her memory by continuing the work she so passionately believed in. Let us strive to embody the same values of cooperation and unity that she demonstrated throughout her life. Maryse's legacy lives on in the work of the OAS and in the many lives she touched. Though she's no longer with us, her spirit and her dedication to building a more inclusive and equitable region will continue to guide us, inspire us, and remind us of what is possible when we work together with purpose and conviction. On behalf of the Executive Secretariat for Integral Development and all of us who were privileged to know her, I offer my deepest condolences to her family, her friends, her colleagues, and especially her team. I share in your grief, but I also share in the pride of having known such an extraordinary woman. May Marise's memory be a blessing, and may her legacy continue to inspire us to live life on our terms as she did, ever mindful that tomorrow is not promised, and that we should always do today whatever we can to bring out the best in our fellow travelers. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Secretary Osborne. I know that this is a particularly difficult moment for you and your team. My deepest sympathy to you and the entire SETI team. Thank you all for the sentiments expressed. The OAS was a better place for having a dedicated staff member like Maurice Robert. She will be greatly missed. Colleagues, we now move on to item 3 on our agenda, the report on the 22nd Inter-American Conference of Ministers of Labor, which will be presented by Colombia. The Minister for Labor is not available this morning. She was supposed to have joined us virtually. The 22nd IACML convened Ministers of Labor from across the hemisphere to address pressing labor challenges and develop actionable solutions. The conference focused on advancing a future of work grounded in peace, social justice, and climate action, one that is inclusive and recognizes the essential role of dignified work in overcoming the socioeconomic disparities and inequities of our region. Under the leadership of Minister Ramirez Rios, the conference achieved concrete agreements designed to strengthen labor systems across the region. These mandates from the Ministers of Labor will shape future ministerial collaboration under the CD framework and guide the ongoing work within the ISCML process. I now give the floor to the representative of Colombia.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Allow me to begin by expressing my excuses on behalf of Gloria Inés Ramirez Rios, who was not able to join us because of another scheduling conflict, and also express our greetings to all delegates on her behalf. Today, it is my job to present the report on the 22nd Inter-American Conference of Ministers of Labor that took place in Bogota. I'd like to begin by highlighting the excellent level of participation that we saw in the conference. It had 26 OAS member states, 15 ministers and 15 vice ministers. There was a strong union and business presence, both regionally and on the hemispheric level. And there were also international organizations, the ILO, and representatives from different multilateral organizations, UN Women, IDB, the CAF, etc. And we'd like to discuss the roadmap that was discussed with consensus on priorities and actions that need to be taken in the hemisphere. We had strong commitment to taking steps that would allow us to move forward with innovation and technology to address changes in the workplace, guarantee a just transition and take care of the environment, and improve conditions for green jobs and strengthen dialogue and workplace justice. All this took
Se refiere de manera directa a temas.
This is the first time in its 60 years that they receive from SEM agenda that is this rich, including, of course, the role of the Ministers of Labor, but in so many of the different economic sectors that are covered here. Let me just quickly underscore the importance that the minister accorded to regional approaches to such issues as labor, technological transformation and its impact on the sector of labor, social dialogue, and again, labor inclusion, to name but these. But the joint declaration of SEATAL, of unions, made a big difference. Very, very valuable input as a result of the negotiations that took place. And as all of the delegations here will no doubt agree, that isn't something you can take for a given. One is happy when it happens, and one celebrates it. We feel strengthened by this Latin American network in the labor sector, and I would simply underscore the importance of the new authorities of SIM, Panama as a future president, the Bahamas as chair of Group 1, Paraguay, Group 2, and the delegations of Barbados and Brazil as vice presidents of Group 1, and Chile and Guyana also as VPs for Group 2. Thanks to all. We look forward to the fruits of your joint and several labor, ladies and gentlemen, and we are pleased to know that you're in the post. What comes next? Well, let us look now at the 25-27 agenda for the SIM and the Plan of Bogota. We will be meeting soon here in Washington, matter of fact, but the dates have not yet been set. We'll be in touch, so stay posted. We'll let you know, and I hope you will agree we want to make it a really stellar meeting. The Secretariat has sent out to each of you a questionnaire so that we're sure that we have caught your own interest. You want to make sure that when we meet, we're covering the issues that matter to you. For Colombia, it is a signal honor to be chairing this for the next 3 years, and the mandates that were set forth in Bogota to guide us. We look forward to work most especially for peace, social justice, and justice in the climate sector. Thank you also to Director Osborne, for Director Yokoman, and Claudia Camacho for their very, very hard work. Thank you.
Thank you, Colombia, for this detailed and insightful report. The leadership of Minister Ramirez Rios in guiding the ICML and driving these initiatives is central to our work in support of labor development across the Americas. My apologies. Go ahead with the video.
Colombia biodiversa, bañada por 2 océanos, cubierta por el verde amazónico, los páramos andinos y los manglares costeros, llena de riqueza cultural, de diversidad en su gente, que con su trabajo impulsa su desarrollo. Esta Colombia promueve en este momento importantes cambios y reformas sociales con el anhelo de garantizar derechos laborales, equidad, justicia social y ambiental. Esta nación, que es potencia de la vida, acogió en su capital Bogotá a los 34 Estados miembros de la Organización de Estados Americanos para celebrar la 22ª Conferencia Interamericana de Ministros y Ministras del Trabajo y debatir, a la luz de los nuevos retos de la humanidad, el futuro del trabajo en las Américas, cimentar la paz, la justicia social y la acción climática en armonía con una región y un mundo mejor. Este pujante país, el país de la belleza, recibió por los siguientes 3 años la presidencia de la Conferencia Interamericana de los y las ministras del trabajo de la región. Nuestro trabajo mueve al mundo.
I am pleased to offer the floor to Executive Secretary Osborne, who would like to address this matter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Simply to say, to bring to Member States' attention that we will be circulating for your use, for your perusal, a publication that we shared at the Ministerial on Labor. I unfortunately was not able to attend the Ministerial at the last minute due to illness, but it was a tremendous success. The meeting of Ministers of Labor is always one that is very well attended by our countries. They're very fully engaged throughout the 3 years that we have between ministerials, and this publication highlights the work that we undertook in partnership with other organizations during the previous 3 years, 2021 to 2024. We're very proud of what it contains. We think that there are lessons learned for all our ministries of labor, experiences that can be shared, and we wanted to make a copy of it available to all of you, an early Christmas present, if you will. So with that, we'll pass this around, and I hope that if you don't have, we have a few more copies. If Capitals do not have copies and you would like some more to send to Capitals, we're happy to share the limited copies that we have. I would like to commend Maria Claudia Camacho, who heads the labor section within the context of SETI, for her work in putting this together. She was instrumental in making this happen, and we're very grateful for all that she continues to do within the context of labor. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Secretary Osborne, for providing additional insights into the Secretariat's efforts in supporting the labor process. I commend you and the labor team for your outstanding work and dedication. The floor is now open to delegations wishing to address this matter. I now give the floor to Honduras.
Muchas gracias, Presidente.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I would like publicly to express gratitude to the Republic of Colombia for the effort and the leadership that has been evinced throughout this whole period, and also to the Assistant Secretary. All of this was notable from day one. And if I say that, it is a process, because very often, you know, we tend to think, oh, it's a ministerial. Where is it going to be held? What dates was it? It was successful. Been there, done that, amen. No, it's bigger than that. It's a broader sphere of efforts that come in, and Minister Ramirez, through that process and all of the preparatory meetings that led up to it, allowed us to realize how much her leadership and warmth could contribute to the process. And I think if we have a plan of action, if we've got the documents we have, and the consensus that we are reaching Bogota with this time, it's largely down to that. Now, when we get to Bogota, I think what we noticed indeed, as has been mentioned, was a high participation, tremendous presence of ministers and vice ministers. In the case of our Minister of Labor, I can tell you he was delighted to have been at the meeting. He was able to discuss in a lengthy manner with Canada, the United States, Brazil, El Salvador, and numbers of other peers. Came away very satisfied indeed. And that kind of exchange, let me say, and I'm sure all of us will understand, doesn't necessarily happen. You can't take it for granted, is what I'm saying. He was delighted. Now, the issue that was chosen and that really was overarching in the process, in terms of emerging technologies, could not be more significant. And as all of us know around this table, I'm very sure, we've only just begun, as the song says. So I'm sure we will learn more, we will identify more nuances, more details that need to be covered, but because that is such a rich field, the question of labor. But we're off to a very good start, I think. And I think also, as we saw in Colombia, there is a component that goes down to the Secretariat, and here we go again. Thank you, Secretary Osborne and your team. We understand the big difference that you made of being in Bogota and inspiring the process and really contributing a very great deal to its success. Maria Claudia Camacho, Claudia Salazar, and the entire team of the Secretariat, above and beyond Ms. Osborne, thanks to you all, made the difference. Finally, if I may quickly, Madam Chair, I'd like to touch on what lies ahead. Please be sure you can rely on our working group and our effort. We're going to do our very best to help get us where we need to be. Thank you.
Honduras, I now give the floor to the United States.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The United States would like to express as well our gratitude to the government of Colombia, to Minister of Labor Ramirez Rios and the OAS Technical Secretariat for their tireless and thoughtful efforts, which made the 22nd Inter-American Conference of Ministers of Labor a great success. Our labor and employment ministries play a pivotal role in helping to support sustainable development through our region as they work towards adopting and implementing responsive policies. By working together, we have an opportunity to address some of the biggest challenges impacting our workforce, including the effects of emerging technology, gender inequality, and the transition to environmentally sustainable economies and societies. The United States looks forward to continuing to work with the OAS Secretariat and member states on the implementation of the Plan of Action of Bogotá. We look forward to future opportunities to learn from and collaborate with others. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you all for your comments. I had the great pleasure of attending the ministerial in Colombia in my capacity as chair of the CD, and I witnessed firsthand the very robust dialogue among ministers. I would also like to express my deep gratitude to Minister Ramirez and the government and people of Colombia for the kind hospitality afforded me during my stay and their successful hosting of the meeting. If there are no further comments, I propose that the Council take note of the report on the 22nd Inter-American Conference of Ministers of Labor and express its gratitude to Her Excellency Gloria Inez Ramirez Rios, Minister of Labor of the Republic of Colombia and Chair of the IACML, for her outstanding leadership. With no objections, it is so approved. Colleagues, we now turn to the consideration of the draft resolution, Physical Connectivity to Promote Regional Trade, Investment and Integration for Economic Growth. As pre-agreed during the informal meeting of CD held on December 3rd, 2024. This resolution represents the collective effort of our member states to address one of the most critical drivers of sustainable economic development in our region, physical connectivity. Over the course of our discussions this semester, we identified key areas where enhanced connectivity can unlock opportunities for trade, tourism, and regional integration while fostering inclusive and sustainable development. I want to extend my sincere gratitude to all member states for their thoughtful contributions and constructive engagement throughout the drafting process. Your collaboration has resulted in a resolution which charts a path for strengthening collective efforts to tackle the pressing physical connectivity challenges facing our hemisphere. The floor is now open to any delegation who would like to refer to the resolution. Colombia, you have the floor.
Gracias, señora Presidente.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and allow me to thank you for your leadership, particularly in the original draft of this draft resolution. Just want to say briefly. It's a question of style, really, with regard to operative paragraph 5. No, I correct myself, says the speaker. We're talking about 4 at the tail end, where we talk about the support of the member states and their efforts to ensure continuity. We would like to say physical continuity, and the rest of the thing goes as it's written, and we can delete in Spanish the comma that goes after that. It's just a minor grammatical correction, but that comma shouldn't be there in Spanish. The rest is fine. So thanks very much.
Thank you, Columbia. If there are no further comments, I propose that the Council adopt the resolution reflecting the amendments presented by the delegation of Columbia. With no objections, the resolution is hereby adopted, including the amendment presented by the delegation of Columbia. Approved. We now move on to item 5, which is other matters. I invite delegations to raise any additional issues they wish to bring to the Council's attention. Okay. I now give the floor to Costa Rica. Ambassador, you have the floor.
Muchas gracias. Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I take the floor very briefly to express my thanks to you for your leadership and the magnificent way you have led us over this chairmanship that fell to St. Lucia and Ms. Dorit Clark, the hard work, and it was a joy and an honor to be vice chair during that period. I can assure you that I'm speaking for all of us. Your dedication and your inspiration have been absolutely key to get us where we are with regard to advancing in the sustainable development of all of our region. Of course, we also express our thanks for the help that the Secretariat has afforded each of us. Secretariat puts in a great deal of effort, and please know that we get it, we thank you, and it goes to, the speaker says most graciously, to those who help us in the room and to the conference interpreters.
I now give the floor to Ecuador.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much, Chair. I can only echo what has been stated by Ambassador Solano, deeply appreciating the work that has been accomplished over this second semester. The permanent mission for Ecuador would like to mention the basis of the MELA project, which was crafted on the Inter-American Culture Commission, and Ecuador and SETI have had a hand here. We heard women artists of the representatives here of the different countries, and artists of each of the member states should be inspired by this as we move forward. I think it's worth remembering that this proposal also had a great deal of input from the Permanent Council of the SIM, the museum, the Art Museum of the Americas, and naturally the Executive Secretariat for Integral Development, goes without saying. And we hope that this exhibit will be able to be launched on International Women's Day in March of the coming year. And we hope, therefore, that all of you will be present or represented. Do come. Ecuador again reiterates the warmest invitation to that end. Thank you very much, Madam.
Thank you, Ecuador. I now give the floor to Brazil.
Muito obrigado.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks very much for your hard work and the wise way you have led us through the thicket of this committee's work. Let me just quickly, if I may, invite those delegations who are interested in staying a little bit after the close of this session for a quick ceremony of signature between Brazil and the Executive Secretary that will offer permanent support to students from the Caribbean. And this goes to their activities in terms of their graduation. Thank you.
Ambassador. I see there are no further requests for the floor. In that regard, allow me to express my sincere gratitude to all delegations for their active participation and cooperation over the course of this semester. Before we adjourn, it is my honor to congratulate the incoming chair of CD, Ambassador Luan Galen Gilchrist, permanent representative of St. Vincent and the Grenadines to the OAS. Ambassador Gilchrist, I extend my best wishes as you assume this important role. I have every confidence that under your leadership, CD will continue to grow stronger and will continue to effectively address the challenges we face in the region while expanding opportunities for dialogue and cooperation. Rest assured of my full support. Since this is the last meeting under the chairmanship of St. Lucia, allow me to express my profound gratitude to all of you for your support, collaboration, and dedication throughout this period. It has been an honor to serve as the chair of this august body, working together to advance the development priorities of the Americas. I also wish to extend my profound appreciation to Executive Secretary Kim Osborne for her guidance and leadership throughout my chairmanship. Your commitment to the work of this committee and SEDI is invaluable. Please convey my best regards to your entire team for their support during my chairmanship. We would not have achieved as much as we did without their commitment. I also wish to thank my team at the Permanent Mission of St. Lucia. Esteemed colleagues, as we close this year's work of CD, I wish you all a joyful, restful holiday season. May you find time to enjoy the company of loved ones. Let us return in 2025 with renewed energy and commitment to our shared goals. Thank you all for your participation, your collaboration, and dedication. The Executive Secretary has requested the floor, and I cannot deny her that privilege. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I actually thought we had it in your script, but we did not. Thank you so much, Ambassador, for your leadership of the CD. It has been a joy working with you. Your sense of humor is contagious, and I just really, really enjoyed the time that we've spent together. Chairing the CD is always a challenge. There's so many issues to address, and we always try to ensure that the chair is well supported, that the priorities that she put forward are well addressed within the context of CD, trying to bring the best speakers that we can to the table, but it requires a chair who cares, a chair who's engaged, a chair who really wants to move things along, and that is the kind of chair that you've been over these last 6 months, Ambassador Darius Clark, and we are truly grateful on behalf of the Secretariat. My deep thanks to you for your leadership of this body, and we hope that we'll see you in every CD going forward. We'd love to have you at every other ministerial as well, but that may not be possible, but we hope that you're able to come to join us, continue to join us in CD. Thank you so much. And since this is our last CD for the year, I also want to take the opportunity to thank all of our member states. Your presence, your support animates our work. It really strengthens the CD. We're so grateful. I'm always so overjoyed to see permanent representatives, to see our alternate representatives so engaged with us and the work that we do, whether it be through the committees that we have within the context of CD, the Management Board, the CAM, the Committee on Policies, the various inter-American committees, the preparatory meetings for the ministerials. You've all been so engaged with us, and we're so very grateful. This is what matters. We try to tell people of the important work that we do in CD. We're not always heard. We try to let our actions speak for itself through the work that we do in the Secretariat. But at the end of the day, the support of member states is what keeps this going, and I'm truly grateful, and I would like to take this opportunity on behalf of myself and the team at SETI to wish each and every one of you a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whichever way you celebrate, and we look forward to a bright and prosperous 2025. Thank you.
Thank you, Executive Secretary. I tried my best. I now give the floor to the United States.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of the U.S. mission, I would like to thank you, Chair Ambassador Elizabeth Darius Clark, for your dedication to advancing the work of the Inter-American Council for Integral Development. We are also grateful to Vice Chair Ambassador Solano, as well as Secretary Osborne and the entire SETI team. During your time as chair, you have demonstrated outstanding leadership and dedication to support CD and its mission to strengthen member states' cooperation towards substantial progress in promoting integral development across the hemisphere. Your term has focused on a critical and timely topic for the region: physical connectivity to promote trade and regional integration for economic growth. Your thoughtful facilitation of discussions ensured a productive and engaging semester and supported member states' cooperation towards progress in promoting integral development across the hemisphere. Ambassador, on behalf of my delegation, I would like to express our appreciation for your leadership to this council. Your chairmanship has supported stronger partnerships aimed at tackling shared challenges to promote regional trade and integration across the Americas. The U.S. mission looks forward to continuing to work with you as permanent representative of St. Lucia to advance shared goals and sustainable development. Thank you.
Thank you, United States. I give the floor again to the Secretary Osborne.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I seem very talkative in this session of the CD. Simply, I forgot to mention our dear Vice Chair, Ambassador Solano. Thank you so much, Ambassador, for your support, not only of this session of CD, but your constant support to the Secretariat and to our work in CD. I simply did not want the meeting to end without recognizing and thanking you. Thank you.
Ambassador Solano, I also say thank you to you for being my Vice Chair and always reminding me of your support, and I appreciated it very much. Thank you so much. As we end this meeting, I wish, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, it is my intention to prolong this meeting since it has been uncharacteristically short. Chair, on behalf of the group of CARICOM countries, I extend a sincere gratitude to you for your stewardship of the CD. You have advanced many of the region's priorities during your 6-month tenure. I thank also your Vice Chair, the permanent representative of Costa Rica, for her support to you. And of course, our gratitude is extended in equal measure to Executive Secretary Kim Osborne and her team. Now, the team at SEDI manages quite a huge portfolio within a shrinking fiscal space. And I would like to repeat to you what our Prime Minister says to us, that we are to do more with less. And you are indeed doing a lot more with a lot less, Executive Secretary Osborne. And so the CARICOM states pledge, I've arrogated the authority to speak on behalf of the CARICOM states. We pledge our support to the Executive Secretariat for Integral Development, because development is a very important pillar, one of the 4 pillars on which the OAS stands. It is a very important pillar for small island developing states such as ours in the CARICOM region. Our priorities might often get lost in the wider picture in the hemisphere, but our priorities are nonetheless no less important than those which are variously articulated very loudly. So thank you very much, and I do pledge that St. Vincent and the Grenadines will continue the stalwart work which has been done by St. Lucia. I did not say St. Lucia and the Grenadines, I said St. Vincent and the Grenadines, okay? We will seek to continue on the same path which has been established by St. Lucia and by St. Kitts and Nevis. We plan to continue on the theme of connectivity. You will shortly see the work plan that St. Vincent and the Grenadines has elaborated in consultation with the Executive Secretariat for Integral Development. And of course, at this point, we enlist your support and the support of the incoming Vice Chair of CIDI. Y con estas pocas palabras, muchas gracias. Feliz Navidad a todos y a todas.
I don't know how to say Merry Christmas. Joyeux Noël.
Tous et à toutes.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Ambassador, by extending my chairmanship by an additional 3 minutes. Much appreciated. I will miss chairing this committee. Happy holidays, and to those of you who are going home, I wish you safe travels. This meeting of the Inter-American Council for Integral Development is now adjourned. Before you stand, I would like to remind you that Brazil would like your attention. Brazil? Thank you. Stay put.
Eu vou abrir uma exceção.
I am going to open this session speaking English for a difference, because this is addressing our friends from the Caribbean.
That we stand here today to sign this memorandum of understanding between the OAS and Brazil to foster greater participation of students from the Caribbean countries in the Brazilian Undergraduate Exchange Student Program, PEC-G. This MOU represents a milestone in our shared vision of strengthening educational ties in the Americas, particularly for students from the Caribbean. With this agreement, we hope to increase the participation of Caribbean students in PEC-G, an initiative that has been promoting human capital development and international student mobility among developing countries since 1965. Through PEC-G, International students can apply for undergraduate studies in fields ranging from medicine to engineering and more than 100 higher education institutions in Brazil, both public and private. No tuition fees are charged to the students during their entire course of study, and there are no pre-established quotas for countries. Only a bilateral cooperation agreement on education is required. Although most Caribbean countries have a cooperation agreement on education with Brazil, the participation of Caribbean countries in the program has not reached its full potential. In this sense, we hope this MOU will help change that. In 2024, 18 students from Caribbean countries have been selected for the program. 9 from Jamaica, 3 from Suriname, 2 from Dominica, 2 from Guyana, and 2 from Trinidad and Tobago. Thanks to the MOU, these students will receive financial aid of around $4,000 each to help them settle in their destination. Of the selected students, 13 will be admitted to health science courses, 7 to dental medicine, 5 to medicine, 1, and I forgot my paper here, and 1 to nursing, sorry for that. It's English, it's not my mother tongue, you know? So I'm excused today to make this kind of mistakes. We were pleased to notice that 13 of the students accepted are women. After graduation, these women and the 5 men that were also selected will return to their home countries and apply the knowledge they gained to improve the societies they live. We hope to improve these numbers next year and have more students from all Caribbean countries participating in PAC-G. For this, we will count on your invaluable assistance and the invaluable assistance provided by the OAS as well, which will help promote the program and the opportunities it offers. Finally, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Secretary Osborne and to the entire Department of Human Development, Education and Employment of the OAS for their continued support and partnership. We look forward to seeing this collaboration bear more fruits and strengthen the bonds that unite our peoples through education. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ambassador. The goal of ensuring that every young person in our region has the opportunity to pursue higher education cannot be overstated. For many, however, the means of securing that goal remains elusive. Many are constrained by costs, some by a lack of knowledge of the opportunities available to them, while others are challenged by geographic location. For us in the Caribbean region, education is seen not only as a vehicle for upward mobility, but as a critical element in ensuring productive citizenship. From very tender ages, Caribbean parents instill in their children that education is the key to success. This mantra permeates our societies regardless of socioeconomic status, race, or ethnicity. With persistently high unemployment rates, which is directly linked to increasing insecurity in our societies, there is an urgent need to address the existing gaps in access to higher education so as to secure our communities and the future of our countries. Similarly, there is a recognition that the transition to the knowledge economy requires not only education of our young people, but the acquisition of the diverse skill sets which are needed to drive our development. The threat of climate change and the rapid need to adapt also require a number of climate-smart skills to ensure that the region has the built-in capacity to prepare for, respond to, and recover from the climate-driven threats. It is for these reasons that this scholarship program being offered by Brazil is so timely and relevant. It responds to the urgent needs of our region and provides our young people with opportunities to explore diverse fields of study which would otherwise be cost prohibitive and by extension unattainable. Since its inception in 2011, Brazil's education cooperation program within the context of the OAS
has benefited hundreds of students across the hemisphere at the graduate and postgraduate level. And this PECG program for Caribbean students is slated to allow hundreds more at the undergraduate level, the area of greatest need for the Caribbean, to attain a university education. We are pleased as OAS SETI to ensure that some funding from the scholarships program can go towards subsidizing this program to guarantee that more students have the opportunity to access it. Students from our region will have the opportunity to study in Brazil in numerous fields free of charge, as the ambassador stated, only needing a subsistence allowance. It is our hope that this allowance provided by the OAS scholarships program through the agreement that we signed today will allow the students selected this year to pursue their dreams. Ambassador, please convey our deepest appreciation to your government and the people of Brazil for this most generous offer of cooperation. For us in SETI, we would simply not be able to meet the demands of our member states without the substantial support provided by Brazil. When I started discussions with Brazil in late 2017 to specifically offer undergraduate scholarship to address the Caribbean's needs as expressed by our governments, I had only expected a handful of offers. This program far exceeds my expectations, and I am beyond grateful. I want to commit that in 2025, SETI will do more in outreach and publicity to ensure the highest level of participation in the program. We urge the governments of the Caribbean to join us in making this remarkable program more widely available to all people across the region. As early as January next year, I will begin the awareness campaign so that every high school graduate knows about this program and how they can benefit from it. My thanks again to you, Ambassador, and the team at the Permanent Mission, Ciro, Larissa, Jackson Lima, who has left, for their support on yet another partnership between the OAS SETI and Brazil, a reality. Thank you so very much. Thanks, Ambassador.
St. Vincent and the Grenadines, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I take this opportunity to thank the permanent representative of Brazil for the work which he and his team have invested in seeing this cooperation agreement reach this point today, the point at which it has been signed by the Executive Secretary. I equally thank Secretary Osborne for the work that she has invested in this to bring this to this point. Madam Chair, it is undeniable that education is essential for building prosperity and reducing poverty in our region. And so it is within this context that I remind that before us in the Permanent Council, we have a lot of work to do on reducing poverty. And I'm pleased to see that the government of Brazil is focusing on the reduction of poverty in the hemisphere, and specifically in the Caribbean region, through the promotion of opportunities for our youth to participate in educational services which could enhance not only their personal and familial development, but also the development of their communities, their nation, and the region. So I reiterate on behalf of the CARICOM group our sincere gratitude, which, Ambassador, we are asking you to convey to your principals in Brasilia. I thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, St. Vincent. I now give the floor to Jamaica.
Thank you very much. Madam Executive Secretary, Ambassador Brazil, and Ambassador of St. Lucia. In the interest of time, I won't repeat the names. You all know the names. It will remain of me not to say thank you to both the city and to the government of Brazil for the very, very kind offer of the scholarships, which undoubtedly will serve to strengthen particularly our health sector at this time. It's no secret that after COVID-19, there's a tremendous demand for healthcare workers. And so particularly the scholarships have been targeted, they have been well thought about, and we thank you very, very much on behalf of the government of Jamaica. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamaica. I see no more requests for the floor. And this meeting is adjourned. Happy holidays.
The Committee on Policies meeting will begin. The conferences need a 5-minute break, and then the meeting on Committee on Policies will begin. Thank you.